What's going on, guys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video I have the custom tactics for the 4-4-2, probably the most balanced formation in the game. We know it's heavily used by pros, and the one reason why the 4-4-2 is so superior over its 4-2-3-1 counterpart is that you have two strikers. Whereas the 4-2-3-1 only has one striker and a cam, the 4-4-2 has two strikers and normally a centre mid going forward to kind of replicate that cam player to make that numerical advantage. Now I'm going to go through the tactics and instructions for this formation. I'm going to go through them individually and explain to you what a pro player would use and what a goal player would use. And that way you can tune it to your own playstyle. Now, if you look at most pros tactics, it'll be like this. And you'll be like, have they got a hidden tactic? Are they hiding something? No, they're not. It's that they're pros for a reason. They play the game manually. But the way I use the 4-4-2 is I use it as a pressing formation. So I would say if you're going to use this formation, I would say for most of the game, if you want to be aggressive, I would use pressure on heavy touch. It's a really good effect system, especially if you have a higher width, the width of 60. And the reason for this is the 4-4-2 is quite naturally a wide formation anyway. You do lack the CDM, so I don't like to be aggressive on the 4-4-2 flat. And of course, being much wider makes it better for you to press the ball when you don't have the ball. Of course, the wider you are on the pitch, the more the pitch you cover. So I'd recommend pressure on heavy touch. Now, if you decide to use this 4-4-2, and let's say, for example, you yourself know you're a rank 2, rank 1 player, and you want to be really, really aggressive, the way I like to use it is press after possession lost. And this means that you're going to be pressing the ball after, I suppose you can say, for 7 seconds every single time you lose the ball. Think about like the Pep Guardiola-esque approach. So it's more conservative, is the pressure on heavy touch, but I've gone with this one. So depending on your playstyle, you can adjust it. If you know you're not good at pressing and you know, for example, you always push players out of position, then go ahead and use balanced. Now for the depth, now I've gone really high for this. For the sole reason is I use my 4-4-2, and you'll see a video on this tomorrow. So make sure you check out my tactics setup where I go through each of my tactical layout for every segment of the game, for losing, for winning, etc, etc. Now the way I use my 4-4-2 is if I'm losing 1 or 2-0, as you might have seen in introduction clips, I normally change this formation to press my opponent. This is the formation I use if I want to be attacking and I'm losing by 1 or 2 goals and I don't want to be passive anymore. So of course I want to be as wide as possible and I want to be high up as the pitch as possible as well. So that way I'm not sitting back anymore, and of course I'm wide as possible. And obviously don't forget, with this formation, naturally speaking, you cover most of the pitch. So wherever the ball is, you can always switch between a lot of these players and press your opponent very, very well. Whereas the 4-2-3-1, you only have a striker and a cam. It's so hard to press with a striker and a cam. You always want 2 strikers up front. So that's why I've gone with a depth of 70 to be high up the pitch. There's no auto offside anymore, so your players won't step up to keep in line with the final striker, but still you're very much high up the pitch and it's still very, very attacking. Now for the build-up play, I've personally gone with long ball. Now long ball I think is probably the best one, just because simply when you get the ball going forward, your players make the runs going forward. So remember, don't forget, long ball is essentially the first 2/3 in a pitch. So I find it very, very effective. So when I get the ball on my feet, I want my players to be making runs in behind. Don't think it's about lob passes. It just means, think of it like the getting behind instruction. That's what I always say to everyone. Think of it like the getting behind instruction. Long ball just basically means that if a player gets the ball, let's say my centre mid, who hasn't got a getting behind instruction, he's basically going to get forward and make a run going forward. So that's why all the players make a run going forward. Likewise, if you had for something like possession, they will come close. Slow build-up play is a bit too slow, and fast build-up play is a bit too fast. It's up to you the way you want to do it. I think long ball is a good balance between being fast build-up play but being quick enough where you can get the ball forward without being so passive where your opponent can close you down, or just aimlessly just, you know, spamming all the players going forward, because that's what fast build-up play does. When as soon as you get the ball, everyone makes that run going forward. You still want to be progressive. It's not a gung-ho time. Now for chance creations, I've gone with forward runs. I think this is the best, especially in the 4-4-2, because let's say you're using this formation and you're losing 1 or 2-0. Most of the time your opponent's going to be in a system where they're parking a bus, overload the ball, and they're going to be very, very narrow. Now of course, the 4-4-2 being a very wide formation, you kind of pin your opponent's 2 centre backs, and I suppose you can say his left mid and right mid, together. And with that extra centre mid joining the attack, it makes it really, really good to make your opponent vulnerable if you can create the space and find the chance. And with forward runs, they make the runs into space all the time. They don't just sit there passively. And I rather prefer that, because everyone's going to be sitting back parking the bus anyway. So I'd rather my centre mid going in attack. I'd rather commit more players going forward. I like my players to make runs in deep positions. So if he is parking a bus, I can try to get the ball outside near the penalty spot, do a skill move, a fake shot, and try to shoot the goal into the back of the net. Now for the width, This is something that I've changed from, if you see my 4-4-2 a couple of weeks ago, I've changed this. I've increased my width to 65. In fact, for most of my formations, I've increased the width. In the beginning, I was using a very narrow width, and the sole reason for this is that, okay, I was thinking, okay, if people are playing very, very narrow, I don't want to be too wide. I kind of want to compress and kind of match him and mirror him in towards the middle. What I've done now is I've gone towards a width of 65. With the 4-4-2, they're not so wide where they're basically hugging the sidelines, but they're wide enough for you to create the exploits between your opponent's centre back and their left back. When you go into the game, you will know exactly what I mean. Your left mid and right mid will be positioned perfectly where you want them to be. So when you build up, they'll be perfect for the 1-2s going down the wing. But in the final third, they won't be in a corner. They won't be near the penalty spot, but they'll be just, I suppose you can say, where a right mid will typically play. And that's perfect for the 1-2s back to the right back, to create those overlaps, to create those numerical advantages, and to get through with the superiority. So that's why I've gone with the width of 65. You're going to see a lot of my videos have actually increased the width. So No More and Gun has the width of 50, and I was using 45 before. Now I use 65. Just trust me, use this and you'll change. Now, of course, for the players in the box, you can increase this. I've put this to 7 just because when I do get the ball into, and don't forget, this is only for in a crossing situation. This is not for example, when the ball is over here. That's for this tactic, chance creation. This is for when you're in a crossing situation. I have a lot of players inside the box. Now the corners and free kicks, originally this was much higher. I've put this down to 1 solely for the factor is, if I'm 1-0 down, I don't want to have a corner, then lose the ball, get counter-attacked and it being 2-0. That is game over. So I'd rather be on 1, be a bit more safer on corners, but at least guarantee, because the amount of corners that I actually score is very low anyway, because people, they bring the goalkeeper out, and most of the time I pass my corners anyway. In free kicks, the exact same thing. I either shoot or get a striker to run over the ball. Now going over to the instructions. Okay, so the change that I made is 1 striker's on stay central and stay come back on offense, and 1's on stay central, come back on offense, and 1's on get in behind. Now, the reason for come back on offense, now this is something that you'll understand as you get on to the higher divisions. A lot of top tier players will realize you're playing a 4-4-2, and if your 2 strikers on stay forward, any half decent player will play in between between your 2 strikers and your midfield 4, and that means that they'll basically bait you to bring a centre mid out, and then they'll break you. That's how they'll break you in a shape. You have to be smart enough to run back with your striker and bring it back if you are defending that way. That's why pros use them on stay forward, because they know when to bring those players back, when to use teammate contain or com pressure. You might not know how to do that, so what I'd recommend is putting them both on comeback and offense. That way they're always that way you're always behind the ball. You're always behind the ball in a 4-4-2 system. That way you can press the ball as a unit, not as disjointed attack. You press it as a unit, so when your strikers go forward, you have your centre mids as backup. You don't want to have your opponent playing in between these lines. Then you go forward, and then that's it. He's in behind because you only got 1 centre mid left. So you have both of them on comeback and offense. Both of them on stay central. There is no reason why you'd want, for example, your striker to go on the wing and your winger to overlap and go on the inside. I don't understand the reason why people actually play that way. You always want your 2 marksman players to be in the middle, inside the box, the 2 5-star weak footers. I put 1 of them on getting behind and 1 of them on balance, just because sometimes I want 1 player to get in behind, but sometimes if both of them are on getting behind, they both make a run going forward, and sometimes you just don't want them to go. You want them to stand still. That's why I got 1 on getting behind, and of course I got 1 on balance. Now if you want to, you can use aggressive interceptions, but I don't. I'll explain to you why I don't in a second. Now that is of course for my 2 strikers. I just want to say, if you do want to get better at FIFA, I do have a paid advanced in-depth FIFA School Series. This is for all levels of those that want to improve in FIFA. This is different from YouTube videos. It's in a progressive learning system where all the videos go completely in-depth with examples and explanations. You won't find these videos on my YouTube channel, and these go beyond the scope of typical YouTube videos. They are very elaborate, in-depth videos in a structured format explaining what you need to do 1 by 1 incrementally. So come join hundreds of others in a mature audience community for those looking to get better at FIFA. Patreon.com/NealGuides. Link is down below in the description. Of course, I have all of my previous year's videos that still apply to this year, and I have new videos for FIFA 22 being frequently released, and it's already there already, and new ones coming out to adjust to the patches. It's a complete money back guarantee as well, so if you don't get better after 1 month, I'll refund you your money. That is a NealGuides guarantee. Patreon.com/NealGuides. But anyway, back to the video. Now then we go over to the left mid and the right mid. So the left mid and the right mid are both of them on comeback and offense. Of course, you can have them on stay forward, but the reason is that when you I suppose you can say out of the ball. Let's say, for example, your opponent gets the ball back. You still want to be defending in a 4-4 system, okay? Because if these guys aren't stay forward, you're only going to defend with 2 players. Maybe your favorite pro player like Anders may be able to do this, but that's because he brings back these players exceptionally well. So for most players, even myself, I use comeback and defense. If you do find this is a tad bit too defensive for your liking, feel free to put this on balance. Ideally, someone who's got a high work rate would be perfect in this role if they are balanced. But I personally use comeback and defense anyway because I want them to come back anyway. Chance creation, I don't put this on stay wide. Now, don't forget, we've increased the width to 65, so they're quite wide anyway. If you want these players to be hugging the sidelines, as I mentioned in my other videos, all you got to do is press up on the D-pad, and I think it's right. That activates hug the sidelines. That means when you have the ball in possession, your left back and your right back and both your left mid and your right mid will be as wide as possible. That's how you make the pitch bigger. So if you need to, you can always flick on hug the sidelines like a light switch and turn that on. That's what I would say. We have both of them on getting behind, of course. So when I do get the ball, or let's say, for example, I get the ball on my right back, I want these players making runs in behind so I can do a through ball down the wing. Because don't forget, most players are playing very centralized. You can make a through ball down the wing on the outside to kill them, and that's the reason why I do that. And likewise, get into the box for a cross for both of them. So if I get the ball, for example, my left mid down the wing, I want my opposite side to come inside the box and one of my centre mids to join the attack. That way I create a numerical advantage against his opponent's back four, especially if his, I suppose you can say, his right back has gone to commit towards my left mid. I do create that numerical advantage over there as well. We left both the interceptions again on balanced, nothing on there. We haven't put this on conservative just because this is a bit of the attacking formation, so rather than be aggressive. Now for the centre mids now. The most defensive centre mid has to be on stay back while attacking. So I normally put the most attacking centre mid on the right hand side. That's just my play style. I've always done it that way. So the left one is Lorente. He's on stay back while attacking, cover center, and he's on stay edge of the box. This guy will never go forward. If I need him to go forward, I'll always use the L1 trigger and bring that play forward. That's what you see a lot of pro players do. They're both of them even on stay back while attacking, but they use the L1 button to push them forward manually. So I have one on stay back because I want one guy. This would be like the Kante player, the CDM of the team. I put Lorente. He works pretty well here. Stay back while attacking so he doesn't go forward. Stay on the edge of the box. So that way if you do cross the ball, you have one guy at least on the edge of the box. You don't want every single guy inside the box. You want someone at the edge, just to pass the ball to them for the finesse shot. Maybe if the chance is gone, you want to recycle the ball. And then we have, of course, cover center because we don't need them to cover the wide areas. Why? It's because we've got the left mid and the right mid. Now for the most attacking center mid, don't forget this is the 4-4-2. In the 4-4-2 second variation, the CDMs have the cut passing lanes instructions. In this one, they don't, so we can't put cut passing lanes. If you are playing the 4-4-2 second variation, that's some of a defensive formation. Get forward or one the attackers. The reason why is when I'm going forward in a 4-4-2, I want the centre mid to join the attack to create a majority against a 4 back line. So if I'm playing a 4-4-2, I'm playing a 4-2-3-1, I want to create a 5v4 situation at the back. I want one of my centre mids to go inside and kind of act like a second striker or someone that can shoot. So have him on get forward. So whenever I get the ball and I get into attack position, he's always going to get forward. Same with long ball, okay? We have get inside the box for cross. Likewise, I said to you, if someone goes in the box here and cross the ball, I want this guy coming in, this guy, and these two as well. Same thing. I've put him on conservative. Now, this is just my logic. Sometimes when I lose the ball, they be overly aggressive, okay? And they press too much. I'd rather lose the ball and he just stands still. That way I can switch to him and then I can run back and I defend with him. That's the reason why I have him more conservative, and it's also to save stamina. When you go into the game, you will see this. When you lose the ball, he won't be as aggro as balanced, because sometimes with balance, with pressure on every touch, they'd be too aggressive. But put conservative, he's a bit more passive. That way you can run back with him manually and track the strikers. Cover center, of course, same as my other center mid, and I have him on free roam. Something I've been trying, if you don't like free roam, just leave it on balance. I'll be honest, balance is pretty good. They always run towards the middle. Free roam, they're just kind of in random places. To be honest, they're not always in the best places to attack, but sometimes to recycle, I don't really take long shots. So to recycle, they're actually not bad positions. So I leave them on balance to kind of just hover around this area, I would say, and normally pick up the ball in good positions. Now, both centre backs, both on stay back, goalkeeper, of course, on balance. Nothing is being done there, no aggressive or anything there. And then both the left back and right back, stay back or attacking, conservative overlap. The reason why these aren't conservative is if I do get countered, I want to be aggressive with this guy. Okay, so I don't have this guy on conservative, but When my opponent makes a through ball, I don't want these guys to get out of position and be overly aggressive. So especially if my opponent's playing a 4-3-2-1 or being a counter attack or using a counter attack formation, I don't want these guys to commit at all. I want to be able to select them and be able to run back. Now, if you know you're good at defending, then put both of these on step up and normal. I would say if you're an elite player, do this. If not, even I just keep it on balanced and conservative. I think it works very, very well. And don't forget, you can always have the fullbacks join the attack with the fullbacks join the attack function. Remember that. Attacking fullbacks, you activate that on the D-pad tactics. I think it's up and then it's left. Attacking fullbacks, and then your fullbacks will go forward. Now, as I said to you, this is the formation if I use if I'm losing. I got a video on explaining when I use it in the game. If I'm really struggling, I just activate the D-pad tactic team press and it resolves the entire thing. So let's say, for example, I'm losing 2-0. I want to be pressing all the time. I literally just activate team press and it becomes a pressing formation. And that's it. This is one of the best formations in the game. As I said, the numerical advantage against the 4-2-3-1 is you have 2 strikers up front as opposed to only having just 1 striker and a cam. So that is, of course, the benefit. And this is the team that I'm playing it with. I'll have a video on it tomorrow explaining everything as well. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.